hello, A Taste of AZ listeners. I am your host today, Luke Irvin, and we are here on High Street, not too far from where I live, but I actually don't make it over here a lot, but I'm excited to be here today to check out this beautiful spot. We are at Humble Bistro. Chef, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Jorge Gomez. I am the chef and owner at Humble Bistro and Humble Pie.
Okay.
We're super happy to be here. We just turned a year old in this place, in this location, and it's been fantastic for us.
And, you know, I'm surprised that I don't make it over here more often because there's a lot of great stuff on High Street. One of my favorite spots is Soda Jerk. This is a new spot that I'm excited to check out. What are some of the other spots on this little street that people might know about?
So you have Boozy Breakfast, a good spot for brunch. Hula has its own, like Highland kind of style of food, so it's fantastic. You have Mother Margarita, but also you have at the end of the street, you have Nori Sushi, that is fantastic sushi. Cook and Craft just got into town. We have also a really like a speakeasy just behind in a coffee shop. You have to go through a phone booth, so it's really, really cool.
Okay.
There's a lot of cool things. I feel like the way I describe it to people is like a Mill Avenue for adults.
That's a good way of describing it.
You go to Mill Avenue and you have all these party restaurants. Over here it's a lot more adult-driven, but it's still you can bar hop. You can go all around, and Soda Jerk is fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to do the escape rooms in the back, the owner, he used to work for Disney, and he has all the mechanics, and it's just fantastic rooms over there.
So we actually did an episode with Soda Jerk, I want to say, maybe a little bit over a year ago, if I'm correct. And he explained that whole story, and he showed us the back, and I'm like, man, this feels like it's at the level of Disneyland.
Exactly,
so it's pretty crazy. But, of course, we are here today to talk about Humble Bistro. So what is your kind of quick explanation of what Humble Bistro is?
Okay, so the idea for us to become a bistro, right? Like it is like a really good place with really good food, but in a relaxed atmosphere. We wanted to create something that people feel as soon as you walk in that you're not in Phoenix anymore. Like a place that is being in Barcelona, in Paris, and like all school bistros with really good food. But the food, I will say, and I call it and explain to everybody, it's like the new American cuisine. Right, you have American cuisine, you have a little bit of Mexican influence, you have the European, you have the pastas, you have the Italian. So I feel like it's a melting pot, kind of like this country, right? You have all cultures. Everybody is so exposed now to every kind of food that before you couldn't do it without the internet. And it actually has been working really well for us, like having the pastas, having the burgers, having the sandwiches, short rib. Like for brunch, we do a lot of like enchiladas and hash and Mexican style, and then our Benedicts, and then we do a different kind of scrambled eggs, and we do our own English muffins, all our sauces. So it's really, really cool. It's just, it's like I have grabbed all my knowledge and just put the dishes that I like the most, and people is actually being really receptive about it.
Sure. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. Tell me about growing up for you. Is cooking something that you've been doing since you were a kid?
Yes. So it's kind of like innate, right? In Mexican culture, everybody revolves around the kitchen. You have parties there. Everybody comes and cooks together. My grandma and my grandpa, they always cook. I was always there with them. My mom cooks fantastic too, but I have a period of time that I live with my grandfather and my grandmother, and I kind of fall in love with the cuisine without me noticing, right? That's one of the things, because my dad is a doctor. He's an orthopedic and trauma surgeon. So my whole life he was like, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor, right? Like everything is laid out for you. And the senior year of high school, I realized like I have this passion for food and I need to do something. But you're talking about 1999. I mean, it was barely starting to becoming a boom. And in Mexico, it wasn't that well looked like to be, what are you going to do? Just be a cook instead of being a doctor. So, but it was great. I have a culinary degree, a bachelor degree in culinary arts, and then I was able to travel around the world, and now this is what I do, and this is the only thing I know how to do it. And to be honest, like I never get enough. I cook home, I cook here. That's my life, just cooking.
So in Mexican culture, in American culture, which is what I've experienced, it's very common to go out to dinner, but I would figure in a culture where so much of the cooking is done at home, you don't go out as much. Is that correct? Is that kind of how you grew up?
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. I think growing up in Mexico, now you have more restaurants, right? Now I feel like the generations have changed.
Sure.
And now the people really go out and eat all the time.
Okay.
And they stay less at home. But on the time that I was growing up, the best ones will be, Sundays and make carne asada in the house and bring you tortillas and your ribeye steaks and just watch the game and make salsas. And you make everything at home because it tastes so much better, right?
Sure. Well, and it's, that communal aspect of dining as well, which I feel like is becoming more of a thing in America. But you look at cultures, like Italy, it's similar to Spanish culture, that it is very centered, family is kind of centered around food in that way. And, when you see that in America, it's a lot of families that come from these different regions that bring that component to it. And so it's interesting to see how that has kind of made its way into America, and dining the way it has been in America, maybe for longer, if I'm correct in my assumption, has transitioned into Mexico in that way.
Exactly, and it's fantastic because, like, I enjoy, like, having with my kids, I enjoy making pasta with them, right? And it's funny because, like, then I will make, beans and rice and some kind of salad tacos, I'll do whatever, and the kids will be like, Papa, can we have something else besides Mexican food? And I'm like, well, it's just food. Grow up in Mexico,
Sure.
You don't say that to your mom, like, can I not have Mexican food anymore? But the kids love to be exposed to food, to make food. And I feel like the more we pass that culture along, I think the core and the communal part, right? And creating food right next to each other is a sentiment, it's an emotion, and you really put some effort to it, and then your family tries it, and it's just organically evolves in love. That's exactly how I see it.
So you mentioned that after high school you went to culinary school. I don't remember if you said where you studied exactly.
No. I studied in Puebla, the Institute of Culinary of Mexico.
Okay.
And it was 4.5 years.
Wow.
Thousands hours of internship, a thesis. It was really cool. I get to know a lot. I get to go to Spain and France and travel and cook in these restaurants in Europe. And it was a really good exposure. But of course, like, this is cool. You don't really learn everything in school.
So you were traveling to Europe by way of the school? That was
by way
part
of the school,
program.
doing
Okay.
internships, exactly. I was in Sagaron, close to Barcelona, Spain. I was in Cancun. I was in Cabo. I was in Paris. And I was in Nice and Monaco and Monte Carlo, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so were those places that you had a hand in choosing where you wanted to go, or did they just kind of point at the map and go there?
They have, like, they have a spread of hotels. And in Europe, they have a lot of hotels that they're like culinary internships. So
Sure.
they're open for everybody in Europe to come to that hotel and kind of practice the culinary industry. But the culture over there is totally different, right? Like, you go to a French chef that it's so, everything has to be perfect. Every single cut has to be the same diameter. Everything has to have a sense of being, not just putting things together, right? And it's so beautiful. And I really fall in love of, like, trying to be perfect, but, like, trying to put an emotion to that, because the chef will like to create these dishes, but not just for him or because he likes it, but this, like, to see the reaction of the people when they were eating that food. And I feel like that's when I fall in love with food, like, to see the effort and everything that you put into the food. It wasn't not just to create food, it was actually to connect with the guest that is coming and eat that.
And so as you're learning these new styles of cooking, specifically French in this instance, are you kind of taking some of those techniques and working them back into the food that you grew up with, whether it be in restaurants or at home?
Exactly. So that was the key for me, right? Like, being exposed to, like you say, like, the culinary techniques and the French cuisine, right? They started the Nouveau cuisine in the whole world, and then that was the mecca of the cuisine, and then the Spanish, and, every culture has certain techniques of how to teach, and this is what we do here. Like, in Brunch, right, we don't do over easy eggs or poached eggs or, like, fried eggs like everybody else does. We only do one kind of egg, and we call it French scramble. And we use techniques of cooking that the French use the techniques to use in cooking eggs in exactly the same way we cook pastas, the same way we do our sauces. I'm applying all of those culinary techniques that I have and teaching all my cooks how to do it, and it has translated really well to our food.
And so the French scramble specifically, what differentiates that from how I would scramble my eggs?
Okay, so we grab organic eggs, right? And the first thing you do, we open it, but we pass it through a colander. So the colander kind of breaks all that, all those fibers, all those proteins that they're really, really liquefied together, kind of breaks them a little bit. And then we add a little bit of cream and a little bit of butter to it, and then whisk it. And then when we cook it, it doesn't have to take more than 30 seconds. And we cook with clarified butter too. The clarified butter gives that nutty, kind of cookie kind of flavor to it, so it becomes a little sweet but soft.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as you drop in the pan, you stir really, really fast, and it doesn't take more than 30 seconds. You flip and it's ready.
Okay.
So it has to be, at the moment my mom always teach me, and that's what I teach to everybody. At the moment you start smelling your eggs cooking, they're already getting overcooked.
Oh, really?
The moment you start seeing that color, that brownish color, they're already overcooked. So
the traditional American diner style egg, yeah.
Exactly, and those ones are already overcooked. So we are looking for a soft scramble almost, but without being liquid, because we want it to be cooked across.
You know, it's interesting. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I've seen a lot of eggs cooked like that in Japanese cuisine, where to, you know, an American eye, they might even say, you know, that egg is not cooked.
That egg is kind of raw.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, like, they do it all around the world. They do it in Italy. They do it, you know, how the carbonara pasta start, right? That in an egg, a raw egg, and kind of cook, not in the pan, but cooking with the same heat of the pasta.
Sure.
And it's not completely overcooked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there. It just adds flavor, adds some certain cremosity. It's kind of what we do with the Caesar salad. Instead of adding our eggs inside the dressing, I actually do a soft boil, kind of like a ramen egg, and we put it on the side, so that kind of, when you add it to the salad, it gives that cremosity to it.
Well, and it's weird too how, you know, the agricultural industry of the United States has changed so many things, like eggs, for example.
Exactly.
The way eggs are stored in America being in the fridge, and then the rest of the world not being in the fridge. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, because it's like, you know, if you just had eggs in your pantry and someone came into your house, they'd be like, what are you doing? Why are your eggs in the fridge? So just that alone is one of those major perception changes with something like an egg that, you know, traditionally, in other cultures at least, is used maybe in a less cooked manner, if you can describe it that way. And it's interesting, you know, you only really realize those things, like you mentioned, when you get the culture shock of actually going around the world. What are some of the other surprising things you encountered?
I feel for me right now that we're so submerged in, you know, and doing pizza and doing pasta, so flour is such an important part. Like you say, agriculture, right? But the flour that you're getting at the store is being there for already a month, 2 months probably.
Sure.
And they're adding additives. They're adding, bleached flour. What is that? You're adding bleach to a flour? Like, you're trying to bleach it, you're trying to make... What are you adding to it? Flour shouldn't be stored that way. Flour shouldn't be taking that long to be there. And that's what people is getting all these gluten allergies, just getting all this intolerance to certain food, because all the food that we have been eating, they try to last longer in the shelf. So they add in those additives that actually hurting your body. Like, flour should be, you know, fresh grind. They should have a smell. It has a taste. Every single different grain, it's totally different than the next one. And when you prepare ingredients with that fresh flour, that everything tastes totally different. So you're right. The more fresher we have in the cultural shocks in different cultures, like you go to Mexico, the cheeses are outside. They're not inside. You go to Italy, the tomato sauce and everything they're doing is outside with the mozzarella. Over here, and it's good. I mean, the Department of Health Department, they give you these rules just because they know the product that you are working with. But you go and see these rules in other countries, they don't apply like that.
Well, and it's crazy too, because it's like, you know, if the question is whether you're going to have enough food, obviously these are things that you want to put in the food to preserve it. But then it's at a certain point, it's like, you know, it's become too convenient to purchase these products that we're realizing, you know, maybe we pushed it a little bit too far and are drawing back. So, yeah, and it's also interesting as well, because when you think about these other cultures that are, you know, using these practices of what maybe wouldn't pass a health department here, their whole food culture is almost centered around freshness. That's what, you know, Italian chefs classify their cuisine as whenever I talk to them, is using the freshest seasonal ingredients.
Exactly. And that's what we do here. And I did tell that to all my chefs. Every single of my locations have an executive chef, a sous chef, and all the cooks, and we all teach them together that the most important part is the fresh and good ingredients that you're getting. Because you don't have to masquerade them. You don't have to put 10 different ingredients together. Like our house salad, right, is just heirloom tomatoes, shaved onions, romaine arugula, queso fresco, and pepitas. Has a champagne vinaigrette. Super simple, but it's outstanding. Just because of the freshness of the ingredient. We're getting... I'm trying to get the best quality ingredient. And I'm paying. And I know that's one of the things, like, it's expensive. When you go to the store now, you want to get the best ingredients, it is going to be expensive. But we are what we eat. if you start putting things that they damage your body in it, your body's not going to be okay. The better ingredients that you can eat, the more free of additives and hormones and everything that you can have, at the end of the day, your body's going to be better. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to masquerade anything. We're just trying for you to have a great experience and feel good about the food, because you coming over here, you're going to have a plate of lasagna and you're going to be heavy, right? It's going to be a big plate, and I'm craving that, and they're giving me half an hour to come over here. So I have a responsibility for them to have the best experience possible.
Sure. Well, and it's interesting, too, because these types of conversations as far as freshness and reducing preservatives and things like that have been popping up a lot on the podcast lately. And, a couple of years ago, I feel like a lot of people would almost be like, oh, what difference does it really make?
Exactly.
And I feel like the more and more that chefs embrace it, people that are eating the food are embracing it, because you taste a difference. You feel a difference when you're eating it. And so, having that come from you guys are almost like the shamans of food for us, right? You're showing us what we should be eating and why. And so it's exciting to come into places like this, because it's not just that you're getting food on your plate and moving on. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, no, it's important for us that, like I said before, we have a responsibility to give you the best product available, to give you an experience, right? And that was really important for us to. After COVID, we understood that people didn't want to go out, right? Everybody's scared. They're gonna get sick. Somebody's gonna have an attack. Something is gonna happen. So those people that were venture themselves to go out of the house, because you're cooked up in a house and you're going crazy. They're giving you 2 hours of the time or the whole week, that day that they decide to go out. For me to create or do something that is just not good, that's you're not gonna be satisfied. You're gonna be like, I just wait my only night off, my only time that I'm gonna go out. That I'm gonna take a date with my wife. That I'm gonna take my kids. I'm gonna take my girlfriend. Whoever you wanna do, or just go out with your friends. I have the responsibility to give you the best experience possible. Why? Because that's the only time you give me. So how am I going to make an impact to you? How are you going to remember me? How are you going to come back if I just push food out of the window? I told my guys, we're not pushing food. We're creating dishes. And every single dish has to have a love, and it has to go out. And I told them, that's the philosophy I use here. I told them slow is fast. I work in so many restaurants that it's just push, let's go, let's turn the table. And what we're trying to do here is I want to give you the best dish. It doesn't matter if it's going to take me a little longer. I'm going to go to your table and I'm going to tell you hey, we're really busy right now. I'm trying to do the best dish possible. It's going to take them another 3 minutes, but I'm going to make sure that it's perfect. And that's going to make an impact. And people has really seen that, and people has really receptive about that. And sometimes I'm having the problem now that people sitting out here for 3-4 hours at a time, and it's come on guys, now you gotta go.
Yeah.
So it's been really good.
So I want to go backwards a little bit. So you mentioned that you had obviously traveled around the world and learned about all these different cultures. Was there a specific place that really stuck out to you as maybe the most exciting?
Yes, so that was Hostal de la Gavina. That was an hotel close in Sagaró, close between Playa de Aro and Sant Feliu, that is close to Barcelona, but in the Riviera. And the reason why it stuck to me is, in hotels you have an immense amount of employees. And I was living in the hotel with 4 more of the students that were coming from Mexico. And every day we'll have lunch, all the employees together. And you can hear the languages, right? You have Germans and French and Italian, Argentinians, that they were the dishwashers, right? And then there was Chileans, Salvatorians, they were from Turkey, from all Spain, and just get together and embrace the culture and talk about food with them, and the way they see food, and the way they, more than anything, I feel the way they enjoy life, having that siesta time, right? Go to the beach and just relax for 3 hours before you start your night shift. It was mind-opening for me to understand that we cannot just be totally diverse and totally submerged by the economy and just making money and trying to have a job that the more money you make, but maybe you're miserable doing it, right? And these people, they're making a good amount of money, but more than anything, they're enjoying their life, and they're having great meals, and they're having great food, and they're happy to go to work, and they're happy to have friends, and that stuck out to me a lot. And that's the culture that I'm creating in these restaurants. In these restaurants, and I tell everybody, the culture is the more important, because if we have a good culture, you will follow us. You'll stay here. I have cooks that have been following me for the past 5 to 10 years. And the reason why is because I don't really scream anymore. Like, there's no need to scream in a kitchen anymore. There's a need for telling them, like, hey, you're on ticket time 15, 17, 20, where you at? But I'm never going to scream at it, because there's no need. We are all adults, and I can tell you, like, hey, this is not right. Can you remake it again? We'll have an issue. And everybody has been so happy, so respectful. And the servers, they've been such a rock stars here, too. And we have a great... We've been so lucky, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We've been so lucky about this place, and that comes from that culture, and that culture comes from that spot that I remember that I just wanted to enjoy. I just wanted to be happy. And I tell the cooks, the happier you are, the best the food is gonna taste.
Sure.
Because you're not gonna just rush it.
It's the love in the food, right? You taste the love.
It's the love of the food, exactly.
So after you finish up culinary school, does your travels around the world come to an end as well?
Well, yes and no. When I came to Phoenix, I still went back and forth to Spain, and then I went to California. I was with LGO. I helped open some of the restaurants for Chelsea's Kitchen, Lucky Shrimp Pasadena, and all those things. But also, I have my wife. My wife lives in Illinois, so we go to Illinois. I see the culture of like Iowa, the Midwest culture, that they totally different, right? Being in California, they totally different. All my friends, chefs. I still travel to Mexico a lot because I'm from there, so I go back and forth. I'm from Sonora, so it takes me like 5 hours to be there. But just in international, I have settled down a little bit just because I'm submerged in opening restaurants, and I have 2 kids that they have soccer and they have this, and I have to take it here. So we're like Uber ride for them. But yeah, no, I always keep myself trying to get books and videos and go in collaboration with another chefs and just talk to another chefs. And I mean, it's like going, like yesterday I went to Richardson's, right, the Rockery. Back in the day, that was the spot with all the chefs and all the sous chefs, and everybody will go because that was the only spot that will open until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So you'll see everybody in the industry, and everybody will talk, and everybody will, how was your shift? And it was really, really cool. It has changed a little bit because of COVID too, and the hours that business and operations, but the chefs and bartenders, they still get together. They still collaborate together. We still talk about this. So it's been really, really cool.
So tell me a little bit about once you land in Phoenix. What was that like, kind of opening up a few different restaurants, and was it a different culture here than you were used to?
Well, yeah. No. So when I came over here, my sister was going to ASU. And she's like, hey, you're on a vacation right now. You want to come and, help me pay my apartment, and then you can just go back wherever you are. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And then I met friends that they were from Greece, and they were working at my Big Fat Greek restaurant in Tempe. And they're like, hey, we need some cooks. You want to come and help us out? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was fun, right? But once I started cooking, it just got hooked. It's just like I couldn't leave. And then on New Year's Day, the chef quit. He came in, Jorge, there's your keys. I cannot do this anymore. And it was, it was the block party that day. We're gonna make like 5,000 people and things like that. And it's like, okay, like, well, this is the proof of fire. Let's see if I can handle it. Let's see if I can make it. And I really like it. And I stayed there and I helped them open some more restaurants. The one in Chandler, the one in Scottsdale. And then I moved to Cafe Boa, and I was working in Cafe Boa, and it was just kind of like a middle point because I wanted to go into Chelsea. So I wanted to get into LGO. That was a good company. That was a company that was growing. There was a really good chef at that moment. And when I was with Chelsea's Kitchen, like Aaron Chamberlain, I was working right next to him. The owner of Otro Cafe, right? Like Doug Robson was working with us. Travis Sassman, the executive chef at Harley, like one of the Italian restaurants. Like we have so many good chefs at that moment. Monica Garcia, like it was so cool, like to be with them and knowing. And I remember he's like the chef comes like, I can only give you $12 an hour and as a tattoo. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to get my feet in the ground and. And then from there, like I was with them for 8 years. I became an executive chef. I was executive chef at Chelsea's Kitchen.
Yeah.
It was a great time. After 8 years, of course, in one company you have to go. And then I was the chef owner of the Vig. I developed some of the Vigs, the Big in Fillmore, the Big downtown, the Macmillan in Flagstaff. Like it was all my collaboration with them. After that, I opened Ladera. That was the last restaurant that I opened with them. Ladera is a Mexican restaurant. And then I went to Postino, because I wanted to learn more of the business side. Like it was always right. You have that natural part of just doing food, but like how a chef is gonna be a chef, he doesn't know how to make money too. So I wanted to be part of Postino. They have a great way of teaching you the business side. And then Food Network came across. And I was able to go to, I have 6 episodes on the Food Network.
Nice.
With Guys Grocery Games and the Ultimate Summer Cook-Off. That was so much fun. And it was good that I make some money too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then what comes next? Is Humble Bistro what comes next?
That's what happens.
Okay.
So it happens to collaborate and redo Humble Pie. So we buy Humble Pie. That is a restaurant that has been there for a long time. And I remember like over 10 years ago with Humble Pie open in Scoxon Road, I was in Radio Milano. And I remember going to that restaurant and the caprese salad was fantastic. The bruschettas, like everything they were doing. I was like, holy cow, this restaurant is fantastic. So I got some of those recipes. But then I think the owners start diversifying too fast and start growing too fast that they kind of got lost. The restaurant, everybody, I think they forgot about the restaurant. Nobody really put interest into it, and you start cutting corners, right? Like they started cutting, fresh products, frozen products, less labor, only 1-2 cooks, not good quality, not good things. They don't keep in shape. But we saw a benefit of to that one, right? There was 5 restaurants, we buy them all. In the moment we were revamping the restaurants, that's exactly when COVID happened. So it just stopped on its tracks. It was a tough time. We lost 3 restaurants. And I keep some of my kitchen crew, and we redid the tables, and we redid the floors, and we paint, and just trying to keep them also a good income for them, and for us to keep moving forward. And it was one of the toughest 4 months of my life, just to be able to see these restaurants and see this food and everything that I pour into it, and it's just frozen.
Yeah.
There's nobody outside. What am I gonna do? And just like a blessing in disguise when we decide to move away from the Tatum location that is across the Desert Ridge Mall. This location, Humble Bistro, came across, and it used to be La Boca. Great restaurant. Julian, he's a great restaurateur, and the bones were here. And it was a manifestation too, because 3 years before we start buying Humble Pie, we always saw this place, a little corner in the spot, and we were like, we would love that to be us. We would love that to be us. We will make such a good things. And it happened. And we got it, and we redid a new menu, and we bring new stuff. And I just wanted to put food that I like in the menu. I didn't want to be too, sophisticated or high-end cuisine. I didn't want to be too fast food. I just wanted to do food like, that I like to eat. And it's actually really, really cool. It's been working.
So when you got this location, what year was that exactly?
It's a year ago.
A year ago? Okay.
Yeah, to 2021.
And so did you have like a plan for exactly what you wanted to roll out once the location became available, or is that something you kind of figured out a little bit?
So we were going to do a Humble Pie. And me and the owners, we kind of were thinking that some of the problems that we were having with Humble Pie too, it was that we were fighting against the label. We were fighting against the name. People has forgotten about those ones. And so when you ask about people, you have been in the new Humble Pie, it's fantastic. It's like, oh, I don't know, they've been there. I have seen it before, I've been there before. It wasn't that a great experience. But, there were so many people that actually wanted to have a Humble Pie that was actually really good too. So we decided to just do a different brand. We found our brand. In this place, we found that Humble Bistro is what works for us. We found a new way of doing food, a new way of doing our culture, a new way of I don't know, I think it was just, we found ourselves in this place.
So we've talked a little bit about the food already, but tell me a few of the more popular menu items and kind of what makes them special.
So we do have a lot of specials. One of the big ones we have is the Bistro board. So one of the things that, you see people love boards, right? Cheese and meats and whatever you can put in there. But everybody was doing the same. Everybody's doing 3 cheese, 3 meats, some nuts, some grapes, and some bread. I mean, it's great. You're giving, prosciutto, capicola, chorizo, the best thing you can put, but it's always the same. Everywhere you go, have the same olives, have the same ingredients. So we were like, why we just redo this? Why don't we put our things? So we put ricotta and chili honey, our jalapeno hummus, our cauliflower tahini, fried Brussels, something that you don't see often.
Mm-hmm.
But also we wanted to give you a small sample of each item that we have in the menu. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like the Brussels, right, we have it as a normal dish, and we have it on top of the Brussels on the Caesar salad, and we put it on the board. The cauliflower tahini, we have a full dish of that. The char jalapeno hummus, we have a full dish of that. So people just get exposed to the things that we are
Sure.
doing, and it just people love that. And the cremini sacchetti, so we make this pasta with cremini mushrooms and ricotta cheese, and we put it on a truffle brown butter sauce with fresh ricotta, basil oil, lemon zest. But instead of using the truffles at the end, that sometimes can be overpowered, we actually cooking with the truffles in the sauce.
Oh, really?
So it's all around the dish. It's really well balanced. The lasagna, we only make 11 lasagnas a day. We don't make more. Sometimes 12. On the weekends, if we have time, we do 15. No more. Every day by 7 o'clock, that lasagna is gone.
Really?
Every day. And we don't do it in a dish, kind of like layer. We do it individual lasagna. So we make it to order. We put the Alfredo sauce, and we put the marinara sauce, but also our sauces, right? Like our Alfredo sauce has pickled jalapenos and garlic confit.
Oh, wow.
So we are, like I said, we're incorporating those cultures like South and Mexican influence. The cacio pepe for me is one of my favorites. It's just such a classic. And it's just Parmesan pasta water and a fresh noodle that we do here with infused with black pepper, and it's just all the pastas are great. We make our own bread. We are all about pizza too.
Okay.
So pizza is such a, I feel like pizza, everybody loves pizza, but not everybody likes or knows good pizza. You like your pizza, right? My kids sometimes they like Domino's, and it's okay. It's okay for you to like those kind of pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're doing over here, we're trying to do something different. We try to do, the Italians would say like it's a capital sin, you cannot do that, right? But we do the Napolitano style influence and cooking methods, and we incorporate it with the sourdough style California, Berkeley kind of style, like super, almost like a baguette style crust. So we incorporate those items together, and we let it rise for 3 days in the
Wow.
walk-in before we actually cook it, because it's the biggest and highest content gluten pizza that you can get, because our flours that I use is the biggest high content gluten. So I need that gluten to completely rest and deconstructs. So whenever it cooks, it can explodes and has all that pecking, those little balls, those flavor pockets, right?
Sure.
I call it. And it tastes like you're eating a baguette with like softness of the pizza with the marinara. And we have our, provolone and mozzarella mix, and it's from Wisconsin. It's a great cheese. So we specifically source every single item for every item has a reason why it's in that dish, because it makes it like that. And our bread, like I said, we make our own English muffins for brunch, and they're fantastic. And we've been eating bread since the beginning of life.
Sure.
Everybody likes bread. So I want to make my own bread. I want to make fantastic bread. I'm not going to buy it and just give it to you.
Yeah.
Right? That's cheating. So
Tell me a little bit about your brunch menu.
So our brunch menu, it's fantastic. We've been having a good following on the brunch menu, mostly because of the diversity, right? We have something that we call the big buns, right? Like the cinnamon rolls. We make gigantic, like 9-inch cinnamon rolls.
Wow.
We put 2 of those ones with mascarpone cream cheese on top. And then we do enchiladas, right? I make my own salsa for, like, my grandma used to teach me. And we put 2 enchiladas with cilantro and cheese and chicken and scrambled eggs on top. We do a hash, but the hash we do with carnitas instead of
Wow,
yeah.
that
And
sounds
the carnitas
amazing.
and the short ribs, we cook it every night here, and they cook over 12 hours every night, and we take it in the morning. And the cubano is one of those things, like we do capicola, provolone, mustard, pickles, spicy mayo, and the carnitas is just to die for. My personal favorite, like I say, the enchiladas is great, but like the English muffin, like this our breakfast sandwich. It's like a classic bacon, egg, and cheese almost, right? But just the muffin, and it's cooked in clarified butter. And instead of just giving you hash browns or potatoes, I give you a heirloom potato mix that is purple potato, golden potato, sweet potato. So it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do something different, something that I do teach over here, and I tell my servers, we are not everything for everybody. So if you want to have coffee, I don't have coffee. And I'm sorry. And people gets mad. And I'm saying like, hey, you want to bring your coffee? Bring your coffee. I'm so glad that you can have your coffee over here. But I'm not going to serve you coffee. Why? Because if I'm going to have a coffee, I want to have the best coffee possible. And at this moment, I don't have the capacity of doing it. So I'm not going to half-ass it.
Sure.
But if you want a soft-boiled egg, or you want a poached egg or over easy egg, I'm sorry. I don't do that. That's not my brunch. You'll find something you like. And I promise you, like, you will not miss. Like, I have 3 kinds of Benedicts. One that is only meat, that is candy bacon and capicola. Then we have the smoked salmon Benedict and the vegetable Benedict that comes with artichokes and arugula and curlum tomatoes. But we put a chipotle hollandaise sauce on top with the onion English muffins and the soft scrambled egg that we do. And people has not missed those poached eggs. And it's so difficult to do brunch and breakfast because you grow up with an idea of what you think an over easy egg is, an over medium egg is, a poached egg looks like. But sometimes you don't really know, right? Like the best way to do it. Like somebody says, like, oh, I like my steak medium rare, and you have a 12 ounces, ribeye medium rare, like supposed to be. You're gonna be like, oh, I need a medium. So I try to expose them that, like the way to do this for us. This is my way, and you can like it or not, but this is just the way I'm doing it. And I promise you, this is our lemma. If you don't like it, we'll buy it. Until this moment, since we've been open, we only have lost twice.
Really?
I have only bought twice.
It's a pretty good record, I would say. Yeah, right?
Yes, exactly.
So is there anything else you guys have planned going forward? I see a beautiful bar here as well, so maybe you want to talk a little bit about your drinks program.
Well, yeah, our drinks program is fantastic. So we have 5 beers on tap, and we're not a beer, destination. But we do have fantastic wines. One of the things about the wines is that we are not trying to get the common wines that you can get at the store. I'm trying to get our own wines that they're really, really good quality, but we're not trying to market and price it super expensive because I want you to be exposed to that.
Sure.
It's preferred for me for you to buy a bottle than only buy a glass, right? And then we have some of the best rums, we have some of the best tequilas, some of the best whiskeys, just because people has been asking for. And we bring a tequila, like Clase Azul, right? And everybody's like, oh my God, it's fantastic. I'm like, okay, let's bring a gold Clase Azul. Okay, let's bring this, let's bring that. And the margaritas that we have over here, we do a spin on a paloma because every single drink that we have over here, we do it with wine too. So our paloma is not just tequila and square, right? Like we have Sauvignon Blanc, we have grapefruit juice, we have all of these things. So we try to incorporate it like that. And also, we are close to open Gilbert location. Less than 2 weeks from now. We're so excited. We are we cannot just call this off. We've been hiring people. That's the only hard part right now, right? Like getting the right people.
Sure.
But it's another humble bistro, and it's gonna be in Gilbert. We have people that come from Gilbert. They'll be always saying like, "Can you guys come over here? Can you guys over here?" And we have a great location. We're gonna have a great patio. Same vibe, same music, same lighting too. Lighting is so important, right? That puts you in the mood. But we are totally excited that we're gonna try to open in June 6th, or that week of the June 6th we should be opening.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Well, yeah. As soon as I came in, the feeling in the atmosphere is just elevated, and to hear you speak about your philosophy on cooking, of taking these classic dishes and elevating them, and then putting your own little twist of the different cultures you've experienced. It seems like it all comes together beautifully here, and people are getting excited about it. Obviously, if you guys are getting a new spot, so I'm excited to visit here sometime myself. And I'm more of a beer guy, but with that said, I like to experiment with wine more. So now I know the place to go when I'm looking to do that.
No, yeah, and it's been like you say. So one of the things that I do say to people is like, even if you see the atmosphere elevated, right, or the food elevated, we're not trying to be pretentious. We want you to be yourself when you come here. However you want to come, if you want to come in a day night and super elegant, or you just want to come after you golf or after your exercises.
Sure.
Like I want you to feel comfortable. Like that's what we call them over here. We call them guests. We don't call them clients. We don't call them customers. They're guests.
Yeah.
They're coming to my house. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel happy. When you come to my house, I want to make sure that you have the best experience possible. But that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to be pretentious. It's just really good food. That's what I'm trying to give you.
Sure. Well, and I've definitely picked up on that sentiment as soon as I walked in. So it's cool to hear it coming from you exactly that way. So yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with us for a podcast. I'm excited to check out your new spot as well. I assume it's equally as beautiful as this one is. So once again, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I love to do these kind of shows and express my love for food. And thank you so much. I appreciate it for the opportunity.
Yeah, it was a great time.